What if it was possible to have local, fresh groceries delivered right to your door? Think of all the free time you'd have. Well, Instacart gives unlimited grocery delivery for one low monthly fee. Forgot that special ingredient in your favorite dish? Instacart can deliver it to your front door in as fast as 1 hour. You can shop multiple stores, see deals in your area, and save time and money. I've been using Instacart for over 3 years. I started using them in Arizona, and I'm using them here in Florida. I love the time-saving convenience. They pick the freshest products, and they keep my eggs safe too. To receive your first delivery free, follow the link in the show notes so that Instacart knows that we sent you and to help support the show. Instacart. Never step foot in a grocery store again. Welcome to Empowered Within, a soul-quenching, transformational podcast that will set your soul on fire through candid and inspiring conversations. Leading experts, celebrities, healers, and I share our journeys of how we've overcome challenges to living an empowered life from within. I'm your host, Jennifer Pilates. Welcome to another episode of Empowered Within. Hi there, and welcome to the show. Today's guest is Dana Skaags. Dana is a licensed psychotherapist with a degree in clinical psychology. She has been in private practice for 14 years, specializing in anxiety and adjustment issues along with trauma work. She is a board member of the Intermountain Psychological Association and a frequent guest on WJHL Daytime Tri-Cities, discussing how to navigate the emotional terrain of everyday problems, as well as the host of Phoenix in Flames podcast. Welcome to the show, Dana.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, it's so great to connect with you again, since I had the opportunity and honor of being a guest on your podcast a few months ago.
You did. It was wonderful. I so enjoyed that.
We had so much fun. So everyone will have to hop over to Phoenix and Flame, check it out, and get all the little gemstones that were going that day. And we have plenty more to bring today through Dana for sure. So let's dive right in and tell me, for those that don't necessarily know or are very afraid of the word psychotherapist, what is it and how did you decide that that's what you were going to be?
Oh, wonderful questions. So a psychotherapist is kind of a general term for, it can be like a psychologist, someone in social work, someone in psychology. It's basically someone that you go to when you're having issues emotionally. You're having issues with how to navigate your thoughts and your feelings and your behavior and how to do that. And so I think personally, I know I'm terribly biased, but I think everybody should have a psychotherapist. You should have someone that you go to help you work out those scary and unexpected terrains of life, to just kind of sit down in a place that is confidential. So that's very important because sometimes we have to share things that we don't really even want our close friends and family to know. Mm-hmm. Sometimes because it's about them, and sometimes we're scared of saying certain things for fear of how they might respond, or they might be upset for us. And so then we're thinking more about their feelings than our own. So the confidentiality is huge. And along with that, it's non-judgmental. You have a place to go where you can be so super honest with exactly what you're thinking, exactly what you're feeling, exactly what you've done or not done. And there is no judgment. There's just a listening and a processing. Okay, that's interesting. Why do you think you did that? Or why do you think you're having that line of thought? And just kind of processing that through. So to get to the second part of your question, now this is kind of interesting because I started out in physical therapy. I wasn't a physical therapist. I was in the line to become one at school. That was my major. Well, I quickly figured out that is not for me. Science and me, we don't get along. I mean, I joke that I could walk past the science building on campus and just smelling the formaldehyde coming out of the doors, my GPA starts dropping. I just can't, I don't like it. So I figured out that psychology was a better fit for me. And there's more to that. If you want me to kind of go in any deeper with that, there's more reasoning.
Yeah, I would love to hear the deep reasoning. Of course, that's what we're here for.
Well, and this is something I'm still trying to come up with comfort with talking about. Basically, my mother and I don't have a good relationship, and we haven't for a really long time. And it's not easy to explain. It would take so long, but because of being in that environment, I sort of had to figure things out to get ahead of it. Looking back now, I feel like I had the mentality that if I could just break it down into pieces and figure out what was going to happen before it happened, then I could keep myself safe. But what I didn't realize was all those decades of doing that was sort of teaching me how to help other people break down their pieces of what they're doing and what is motivating them to behave the way that they are, and then building them back in a stronger, healthier way. So when I ended up switching my major to psychology, it was just a hand in a glove. It was to me, it was like somebody came up and said, "You spell cat C-A-T." I'm nodding my head like, yes. It was just the way that I thought by then. So it was very easy to slide right into that.
That's incredible. And you just have so much knowledge behind you. I don't want to leave anything off the table today. And so one of the things that I wanted to also dive into first and talk about a couple of words that have been used quite a lot lately: gaslighting, narcissists, manipulation. Like, let's talk about those words and those categories. And I don't know if you will call them identities or characteristics, because I know it just depends on who you talk to, how they decipher those things. But I think it's important to know, because those words are getting thrown around so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes with validity. And then sometimes I think it's just like, oh my gosh, they're a narcissist. Like, oh geez. Help us decipher so that we can be in a healthy space with those words, because we don't want to have judgment for others. And if we do, we want to understand it and then navigate, and then we'll get into boundaries and all that good stuff.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. And you're so right. So Jennifer, basically, we can observe someone's behavior and we can set boundaries without judging someone. We have the right to acknowledge how someone's behavior patterns are impacting us and set appropriate boundaries without judging the other person. But we need to observe. We need to observe what they're doing and not keep turning a blind eye. So manipulator is, of the three words that you mentioned, a narcissist, a manipulator, a gaslighter. So manipulator would be the one that is the overarching heading over all of those. And to just take that word and make it a little bit more benign in some sense, we all can be manipulators. A simple point would be, let's say you want to go to a certain restaurant. And so you start talking to your friends about, haven't you been craving some Mexican lately? Are you missing such and such restaurant? And how long has it been since you've been there? And so we're trying to kind of grease the skids so that everybody's going to want to go to the restaurant that we're dying to go to. That is a very benign form of manipulation that we all do. You see children manipulating their parents because they want a candy bar or they want to go to the playground or something like that. It's a natural form of trying to get our needs met. Now, manipulation can be twisted in an unhealthy way. And when you do that, that's when you get into areas like narcissism and gaslighting. So gaslighting is the heavy hitter, so I'm going to leave that till last. So a narcissist basically is someone that the only thing that they're actually concerned about is themselves. Now, they may or may not even realize this about themselves. They may know it, or they may have no self-awareness that they're behaving in a narcissistic manner. What they will do is they view other people as a means of getting their needs met. So they tend to view other people like tools. They don't really see other people as individuals with their own needs and their own points of view. They tend to view other people like tools. And when one of these people is not meeting the narcissist's need, then the narcissist will view that person a lot like you might view a tool that's malfunctioning, that's not working right. You might take the tool and you might bang it on the side of the counter a couple of times. You might try to unplug it, plug it back in. You're wanting it to do a certain thing and it's not. And so you get frustrated with that tool. A narcissist is always thinking about what they want. And so if you do what they want, let's say you happen to be in a relationship with a narcissist and you don't realize it. Well, as long as everything's going along their way, then that's not a problem. I mean, you won't realize it's a narcissist because everything's going their way. Once you start realizing it is when you start to express your own opinion that may be different from the narcissist's opinion. So then when that happens, they get upset and they get angry. They don't like it when you set a boundary. They don't like it when you express your opinion when it's different from theirs. So they will argue. They will maybe become emotionally or verbally or sometimes physically abusive, trying to get what they want. It's all about what they want. And in the end, if you continue to set your healthy boundaries, then ironically, and I've been through this, I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't been through it myself, but they will accuse you of doing the very things that they are doing. And you're listening to them going, do you even hear yourself? I swear I would not have believed it, but it happened to me. And the whole time this person is talking to me, I'm thinking, are you serious? You are telling me that I'm doing, that's exactly what you are doing, but they do not see it and you can't make them. You absolutely cannot make them see it. Now, a gaslighter is another category. So do you want me to kind of pause here or do you want me to go right into gaslighting?
Well, a little bit, yeah, because I think that people then have, because I'm thinking of people that I know or people that have talked to me about other people and they'll be like, this narcissist is gaslighting me. And so I've always thought there's this overlap between all of the three that you're speaking of. So yeah, I can't wait to hear how it goes into the gaslighting.
Oh, there's definitely an overlap. But it's in gradations. So you have the manipulation, which is kind of overarching, and you have a narcissist that kind of grades into a gaslighter. A narcissist doesn't have to be a gaslighter. You can be in a relationship with someone who's a narcissist, but they won't necessarily be a gaslighter. But all gaslighters are narcissists. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. Ooh, okay, yeah, go with that.
Okay. So a gaslighter, they are very interested in making you doubt yourself. If you manage to survive a relationship with a gaslighter, then what comes out is you doubt yourself. You second guess yourself all the time. You feel like you can't even hardly make a decision because in the relationship with the gaslighter, when you try to express an opinion, they're saying, no, it's not. And you're like, well, that's my opinion. I have a right to it. And they're like, no, you don't. That's not accurate. And so anytime you try to stand firm in your own truth, they come against you and tell you, no, you're wrong. And even though you can be, I'm telling you, you can be standing there knowing the God's honest truth that you're right, and they'll say you're wrong. And strikingly enough, if you're in the relationship with the gaslighter long enough, you will start to believe them. Even though you know that what you're saying is correct, they're saying it's not. And so then you start wondering, well, maybe I'm wrong. Because they're very vociferous and they are very determined about what they want and what they don't want. Mm-hmm. And what they don't want is you feeling any kind of confidence. And they'll also try to kind of cull you away. And a narcissist will do this as well. They will cull you away from people in your life who are supportive of you. They don't want anyone around you who will lift you up, who will encourage you, who will say, girl, you got this, you keep going, you're going to get it, you're on the right track. They don't want anyone like that around you. And again, a narcissist may be doing that on purpose, or they may be doing it subconsciously. Gaslighters, it's going to be conscious. They know what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose. Gaslighters can be dangerous. They can, and narcissists can as well, depending on, it's all on a spectrum. Okay. You've got mild, moderate, severe. They can at times go around you and tell lies about you to your friends and family to create a friction so that your friends and family will believe that you said or did something negative toward them that you did not say or you did not do, but they think you did. And so then now they're acting towards you like they're detaching from you. They're acting negative towards you, and you don't know why. And you try to engage them in conversation about it. And most of the time they don't want to talk about it, because the narcissist / gaslighter is going behind you and stirring up all of these lies that you don't even know. You can't defend yourself because you don't know what's going on. All you know is your friends and family are looking askance at you. They're not making as much eye contact as they used to. They're pulling away. They're not inviting you to things like they used to. You don't know why. Then you're feeling isolated. You're feeling confused. Your confidence is coming down. Your self-esteem is coming down. Your need for connection is going up. And who's standing right there to meet your need for connection? The gaslighter. And then he or she will then begin to tell you what you think. It's not unusual for me to have a patient who has been in a relationship with a gaslighter type individual, and I will ask them something like what their thoughts or feelings are, and they just sit and stare at me like it does not compute. They don't know what their own thoughts or their feelings are. They don't know their preferences. As simple as something as simple as, what is your favorite ice cream? And I'm not kidding you. I just get this blank stare. They don't know what their favorite ice cream is, because for sometimes years, they've been in a relationship with this person who has told them what to wear, told them where to go, told them how to speak, when to speak, who to speak to, told them what their favorite ice cream flavor was, and on and on and on, until the whole entirety of who they are as an individual gets drained out. And the relationship is all about the narcissist and the gaslighter. Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to lose inches, increase strength, and tone your body from head to toe? Are you ready for a total body, mind, and spirit transformation? I am excited to announce that I am launching my exclusive 8-week Pilates Return to Life training program. This will give you an opportunity to have a total body, mind, and spirit transformation of health and wellness to a new lifestyle. Imagine in 7 days you will feel a difference, in 14 days you will see a difference, and in 8 weeks you will have your new Pilates body. So what do you say? Want to join me on the mat? Head over to jenniferpilates.com today. Space is limited. Use this special promo code EW and the word special, EW special, to receive $200 off while space is available. Head on over to jenniferpilates.com and I'll see you on the mat. And do you feel that this can happen in families, in love relationships, perhaps society, perhaps media? Because what I'm hearing you say is that the general population has it wrong. More of the gaslighting is going on that's overlapping with the narcissist versus people just throwing around that word narcissist.
Narcissist is a very popular term. In its purest form, a narcissist, like I said, is basically they're just concerned about themselves. And so I think sometimes when people are throwing that term around, they're thinking more on the mild end, but there is a moderate and a severe. As with just about any term you want to use to describe humans, it's on a spectrum. So you could be in a relationship with family, with friends, and have that individual be rather narcissistic, which means when topics come up where decisions have to be made, then they are almost always self-absorbed. It's what they want to do. They're angling to get what they want. They're not particularly concerned about your needs or what you want. And if you try to express an opinion opposing theirs, they don't like it. You get met with conflict. But if you keep going with someone like this and the relationship gets more and more tilted toward the narcissist, then like I said, it can turn into gaslighting and you kind of lose who you are, which is what they want. Right. Because that's the narcissist's dream, to have a relationship where the other person doesn't have an identity. It's all about them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So in moving to, how does one set a healthy boundary versus a dysfunctional boundary?
Okay. So first of all, let me say that if you are in a relationship with someone who's emotionally healthy, then you don't really think about boundaries because they're just naturally being respected. It's a lot like you don't walk around every day thinking about your throat. It's there, but you don't think about your throat every day. But if you get strep throat, then you're thinking about your throat quite a bit because it's hurting, because something's wrong with it. Boundaries function much the same way. If you're in a relationship with someone, whether it's a family, friend, a romantic interest, a coworker, whoever, and it's a healthy relationship emotionally, then you don't think about boundaries. You naturally respect theirs, they naturally respect yours, no harm, no foul. It's when there's an unhealthy thread in there that there's a problem. So let me give you an example, like someone at work. So let's say there was a woman at her job and she worked with another lady, and this other lady had a habit of sort of being, we'll say, not very industrious during the day. Maybe she was on her phone more than she should have been, or doing whatever. She liked to talk a lot. She liked to take breaks. So what happens is at the end of the day, the other woman, we'll say woman B, she ended up with a pile of work that should have been done. Well, she knows she's going to get in trouble if she doesn't get it done, but she chose to do other things during the day. So then she turns around and looks at woman B, who happens to be right behind her in the little cubicle area. And she looks at woman A and she says, would you mind helping me with some of my work? I've just been so busy today and I haven't had time. And if I don't get it done, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble tomorrow. So could you help me? And so at first, woman A will say, sure, that's no problem. You know, we want to be kind. We want to be giving. We've had those days where we're overwhelmed. Let me help you out. So this goes on and on and on, day after day, week after week, until woman B, she is used to handing a stack of work of hers that she could have gotten done, but she did not because she chose to do other things during the day rather than her job. So woman B is used to handing all of her work over to woman A, because woman A has now taught her that she would do that. So this is an example of how unhealthy boundaries begin. So woman B is choosing to spend her time in non-productive ways. And so she ends up with a natural consequence of having too much work to do. Well, when she looks over to her cohort, woman A dumps it on her, but woman A accepts it. We have to point this out. Woman A says, sure, I'll help you. Now, is it okay to do random acts of kindness for people? Absolutely. That's wonderful. We should be reaching out and helping people out. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the pattern. So when woman A continues day after day, week after week to accept this overload of work from woman B, then she's now taught her that she's going to do that. So woman A now is very, very frustrated. She's resentful. She's bitter at woman B. She doesn't like coming to work. She fusses and gripes about it all the time. So do you see how that boundary on both sides is dysfunctional?
Yes, very much so. And I love that you're pointing out that the key is that woman A accepted this. Yep. She taught the other woman that this is okay. So the only person that she can be mad at is looking in the mirror at herself because she actually created the dynamic.
Yes. And really just kind of looking and observing her behavior. And I'm really big on just observing instead of judging our own behavior, because if we judge ourselves, then we start what I call jumping in the shame shower, and it just goes nowhere good. But if woman A observes, look, this is what I've done. Now, here's the thing. Let's give you two examples. Number one, this is an example of woman A being kind, but not continuing the pattern. So let's say on Monday, woman B gives woman A, say, here, can you help me out with this work? Now, woman A probably knows that woman B could have gotten that work done if she'd made better choices during the day, but she's like, whatever, I'm going to help out. I've got some time. I'll do it. Tuesday, the same thing happens. So then woman A says, I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm sorry you have that much work left over, but I'm going to leave now. And then she just locks up her desk and she says, I hope you have a good rest of your evening. And she walks out the door. At that point, it's not that huge of a deal because a pattern has not been established. But woman A has essentially educated woman B. If you want someone that you can take advantage of to dump your stuff on that you haven't done during the day, I'm not your chick. I'm not the woman to do that with. Okay. Now, situation B is when this pattern has gone on and on and on. These are usually when I get the patient in the office. Woman A always shows up in my office, never woman B, because woman B, she doesn't have a problem. She's dumped her problems on woman A.
Right.
So woman B has no problems. Woman A is the one with the problems. She's the one that ends up in the therapist's office going, oh my gosh, what in the world am I supposed to do? So woman A knows at this point, if she says no, if she sets a boundary, then woman B is going to get angry. This is true. Okay. But part of boundaries is understanding that woman B's emotions do not belong to woman A. Woman A is not responsible for woman B's anger. Okay. So you have to really coach woman A up because she's going to be terrified. But she can say, let's say it's a Tuesday. And once again, woman B dumps, she's walking over. It's about 4:45. She's doing her walk of her thinking she's going to dump all her stuff on woman A. Woman A can say, if she's been doing this for weeks and weeks now, she can say to her comrade there, I'm happy to do this for you for the rest of this week. And then I'm not going to do it anymore. So she can acknowledge that she participated in this and she can give a time frame and she can say, I'm going to stop doing it at this point. So then that's going to give woman B time to try to find another person to dump it all on. And she's been given notice. Now, having said that, do you think woman B is going to believe that woman A is actually going to stop doing it?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. She will not. That's why the behavior has got to communicate the message. You can use your words and the words are good because you're letting the person know this is getting ready to change, but they're not going to believe you. Your behavior has to train them. Your behavior has to show them that you really mean it. So let's say she does it Wednesday through Friday. Then she reminds woman B as she's walking out the door at the end of the day. Now, remember, I'm not going to do your extra work beginning Monday. And so woman B is going to say, oh, sure, I know. I'm so sorry I took advantage of you. No problem. But then Monday rolls around, 4:45 comes. What is woman B going to do?
Oh, she's handing out work over.
She's handing it over. Woman A has to do what?
She has to set a healthy boundary.
Yes. She has to say, I'm not going to accept the work. Now, here's something that's very important. People that aren't used to setting boundaries think they have to get confrontational. They think they have to get very loud and participate in some kind of an argument, and that scares them to death. Generally, people that get taken advantage of in these situations don't have the kind of personality that's comfortable with confrontation. You need to understand setting boundaries is by no means confrontational. Actually, the calmest, most peaceful people I know are very good boundary setters. Woman A simply has to say, I'm not going to take the work, and say, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow, and then walk off. Now, woman B is going to start kicking up a kerfuffle because she didn't believe woman A. She didn't find anybody else. She's not doing her work like she's supposed to. And she's shuffled her natural consequences off on a woman A for weeks and weeks and weeks now, maybe even months. So she's going to start to argue. Now, here's an important thing. When you think about the difference between the content of what someone says versus their intent. So when woman B starts to kick up a big kerfuffle about it, what is her intent?
Her intent is to shut down woman A.
Exactly. Her intent is to shut down woman A, to get woman A to do the work again like she was doing before. Woman A does not have to participate in that at all. She doesn't have to even answer. She doesn't have to get loud. She certainly doesn't need to start arguing back with woman B. She's already explained to her, I'm not going to do that past this week. So when woman B brings her work back again, woman A says, I'm not going to do your work anymore. I hope you have a good rest of your evening, and walk out. Woman A can do that. It does not require yelling. It does not require arguing. It does not require being confrontational. And you have a nice word. I hope you have a good rest of your evening. Then you walk out the door, and you have to do that every single day for probably 2 weeks, because woman B is going to be trying to do what for days to come?
Oh, manipulate the whole thing.
Yeah. She's going to be trying to get woman A to go back.
So this sounds slightly easier to do in the workplace. For listeners that are going, well, that's great in the workplace. I can handle Betty Lou. But at home, whether it's the husband or the mom or the dad or the whatever, aunt, uncle, whomever, what tips or suggestions can you give? Because we know it goes on and we know that these things happen. What healthy tips can you give that may be able to skirt across those different areas?
Yes, that's a very, very good point. I started with the work because that's, like you said, that's the easiest.
Right. But it was an incredible way that anyone listening to this could be like, oh my God, that's my husband. Oh my God, that's my sister. Oh my, it was a beautiful place to start. And now I just want to help those that go, but how am I supposed to get up off and walk away from the dinner table? Or how am I supposed to go into my home? Or how do I get out of this? You know, and you know, we don't have any details, but there's going to be a couple of healthy, just like maybe 3 healthy tips to say, you know what, here's a great way to start. Get comfortable within yourself so that you realize it's not confrontational.
Yes. Okay. So let me say, first of all, that if someone is in a situation where violence is possible, then they need to get help. They need to reach out to whether it's their one person that they feel that they can trust, possibly getting the law involved, getting police involved, getting a safe place to go to, because we have to admit these situations happen and they're very scary. So in those situations, if you have a listener who's in that kind of a situation and you're like, you know, if I try to set boundaries, I'm going to get hit, I'm going to get beaten, then that person needs to try to reach out to someone. They just need one person that they can try to connect up with, a safe place they can go where they can contact the authorities, and they can kind of have that disconnection there. Just reach out to some community resources. So having said that, the rest of what I'm going to talk about does not include someone who's in physical danger. So basically, when you're dealing with family, what happens a lot of times is we own other people's feelings. So what I talk about in my podcast, especially the first 4 episodes, I explain a lot about what boundaries mean, and then I kind of apply it at different places along the way. But if you imagine a yard, and in your yard are your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And you have neighbors around you, and in their yards are their thoughts, their feelings, and their actions. So it's important to understand right from the beginning that someone else's thoughts and feelings and actions don't belong to you.
That's deep.
Okay?
That's deep.
It's very important. It's very basic, but it has to start there. So when you have a family member who's very mad at you for something, their anger belongs to them. You did not create their anger. Sometimes we make people's emotions about ourselves. We personalize it. It's about me. Somebody can be angry with you. They can be talking to you. They can be talking about you. But their anger is not yours to manage. There's a saying, it grew up kind of was born in the addiction community, but it's basically 3 C's. You did not cause whatever's going on there. Whatever's in the other person's yard, meaning their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, you did not cause that. You cannot control it, and you are not responsible for curing it. Now, if they have an issue, they can go see a therapist. They can go see someone to work out their issues. Their issues are not yours to solve or own. Now, what is yours are your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. So let's say something happens, and I call these boomerang issues. Like you're interacting with someone and you try to shake it off because, you can't be like making everything a big deal. Ain't nobody got time for that. You know what I'm saying? Just try to shake stuff off. But if something keeps boomeranging back to you in the form of intrusive thoughts, I call that a boomerang issue. So if you walk out into your yard and there's a boomerang in your grass, that means that you have to pick it up. You need to attach words to it. Walk across your yard to the fence line of whichever neighbor you have this boomerang issue with and engage them in a conversation about it. Now, here's the thing. People will say, Dana, well, that sounds fine. But my neighbor, my dad, my husband, my sister, my friend, whoever, they're not going to like what I have to say, and they're going to get really mad at me. And my answer to that is yes, and their anger is not your issue. Now, that doesn't mean it's comfortable, okay? But you are in charge of your feelings. And if you let a bunch of boomerang issues build up inside of you, then when you finally let them all out, you will not be able to control it. And that's on you. So it's better to address things as they come along. So if you walk across your yard and you're leaning against a fence line and you're expressing to the other person something they did or said the other day that really hurt your feelings or whatever. And by the way, I'm going to talk about that hurting my feelings in just a second, because that's not even, they did something and you responded with hurt. There's a disconnect there. We frequently say, you made me mad. That's not really even possible because my anger is in my brain. So what happens is you did something and I reacted with anger. So that's important to remember. So when you're talking to someone, if your feelings are hurt, that's because that hurt is inside of you. But they did something, they said something, and that's worth discussing. So all you can do is attach words to it, because no one is responsible for reading your mind. And you can't read someone else's mind. So if you have something that keeps intruding into your mind like a boomerang issue, it's your responsibility to walk across the yard, lean against the fence, and open up conversation. Tell them what you're thinking. Tell them what you're feeling. Tell them what your reaction was to what they said or did. Now, how they receive what you say and how they respond back to what you say has nothing to do with you. That doesn't mean it's comfortable, but you are not responsible for those things. And that's very, very important, because that's one of the main reasons why we don't open up conversation with people, because, oh, they're going to get mad. They're not going to like what I'm having to say. Well, you're probably right. And okay, no, they're not going to like it. And
this is incredibly empowering. I don't think I have ever in my 40 some years, I'll leave it there, have ever been told that you being mad, the way that you have explained it, I mean, I think we need to put you on every channel in the world right now and just have this on repeat. That someone else being mad that's on them. That's not on you, regardless of, maybe what you're saying or what you're doing. And hopefully you're not being a dodo head. But that's still their reaction, that to being triggered to something else that probably has nothing to do with what you said, but it's something that got triggered from when they were 5 or 6 years old. That is so, and you hear this word too a lot, triggers. Everyone's triggers and everyone has trauma. We all do. We all do. Nobody's not had trauma in their life. It's at different variants. How you're explaining this, oh my gosh, is amazing. It is so empowering. And I know this is going to help so many of our listeners are probably having the same aha moment in the way in which that you are describing this.
I hope so, because then hopefully people will be able to relax a little bit and not be so upset and so scared to open up this conversation. Because like what you just said, even if someone is upset and they're upset because of something we said or did, number one, it's not our responsibility to read their mind. So they need to come to us and tell us. We don't have to ask. Now, this is where passive aggression comes into play. When people don't want to tell you what you did or said for different reasons, but they want you to ask them. So they'll do things like slam doors, slam cabinets, they'll huff and puff around, they'll stomp their feet to try to manipulate you into asking them what's wrong. Now, you can ask them if you want to, but you don't have to. You can just simply say, gosh, you seem to be having a rough day, and just move on about your business.
And does that fall into the same category, the manipulation that you're speaking of, when people are silencing, or some people call it ghosting, or they're just, I'm done, I'm not speaking to that person anymore? Or does that fall under the gaslighting and the narcissist and all that as well?
It depends on why someone is being silent. If someone is holding a grudge, if they have bitterness and resentment inside, and they're like nursing it like Gollum nurses the ring, like my precious, okay? And they're holding on to it, then that's a boundary issue, because that's a huge boomerang that they're holding on to, that they're not discussing with you, but they clearly still have a lot of feelings about it. So it's kind of spurting out in the form of passive aggression, but they're not speaking, okay? That is unhealthy. However, when you set healthy boundary with someone, regarding like a narcissist or a gaslighter or something like that, you have the right to speak your words and be done. Not a comma at the end of your words, but a period. I've spoken my words, I'm done. Because what a narcissist or gaslighter will want you to do is they'll want to draw you into more conversation so they can talk you out of your opinions, so they can get you maneuvered around to where they want you to be. This is what I call the hook. There's something, a noose as well. I'll explain that in just a minute. But if you imagine like a big metal, rusty meat hook, that you might find in a meat house, meat packing plant. that if you're engaged with someone like a narcissist or a gaslighter, and you have said your piece and you're done, but they keep trying to egg you on, they keep trying to say things to you that they know are going to be hurtful to you, they purposefully are saying things to criticize you, to try to get you to bounce back, to defend yourself. Imagine when that's happening, that this big metal rusty meat hook is dangling right in front of you. My advice, do not get on the hook. Because as soon as you begin to engage with them, you have jumped on that hook and they pull you in and they've got you. Mm-hmm. Do not do that. That's when your silence is healthy. When you're like, I've said what I need to say. I do not need to repeat myself because you do not have hearing issues. You do not have brain damage. You heard me. I'm not going to repeat myself. There is a period after what I said, not a comma. And then you have the right to calmly walk away. Of course, they're not going to be happy at all, but that's not your problem because their emotions are in their yard.
Right. Right. Now, what if you flip that? What if you flip it and it's the gaslighter or the narcissist who, similar to maybe what you said earlier, like goes and is saying, things about like, that person's X, Y, and Z, and I'm just never speaking to them again. I'm not speaking to them. In knowing that they're causing havoc. So almost like say that person they know that you've got their number, so they're now talking about you to keep you away from them. So they're going to say, well, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'm not going to have you in my life. Did I explain that right?
I think you did. Well, you've just received a big fat gift.
Right.
It's like, okay, you don't want me in your life? That's awesome. Bye.
Right. I wanted to touch on that too, because I've talked with numerous clients lately and things like that have gone on in their lives. Mm-hmm. And I've tried to express that, well, that's a gift. But when you're in that situation and there's that codependency, toxicity that's gone on and you've been manipulated to believe that you need that person for air, they don't see the gift in that moment.
You're right. You're right. That's why they need to build up other people. When I take patients through a clinical interview, one of the questions that I ask them is, how many good friends do you have in your life? And this is important. I don't care if someone is single, if they're married, I don't care any of that. You need to have good friends in your life. So if number one, if you have a listener and they are already in this relationship and everything they do is with this one person, they don't ever do anything. They don't ever go on any girls' weekends. They don't ever, or vice versa, whatever. They don't ever go out with their friends. Then start. Now, I will say, if you're in an abusive, codependent relationship and you try to formulate other relationships, then they're not going to like it. Do it anyway. But like I said before, if someone is in a dangerous situation, then clearly they need to get special resources and help for that. But if someone is new and they're listening to this and they haven't really gotten very deep into this narcissistic codependent relationship, form other relationships, have other girlfriends, have other people on the side that are there to support you, so that when you need to set a boundary, when you need to be able to walk away, you're not alone. You are not alone. That is the lie that a gaslighter wants their, I'll call it victim, to believe, that if you don't have me, you have no one. This is a lie. But relationships, many times they take nurturing, they take intention. And so whether it's, if you need to start with one person and telling them that you like, let's meet for coffee and just start learning about each other, getting close, formulating some other girl relationships or something like that, that will give you the strength and the support to be able to pull away from codependent relationships.
Right. I think that's excellent advice, and that our listeners can definitely heed that and they can wrap their heads around that. And that those are wonderful baby steps in addition to learning those healthy boundaries and how to start practicing those. So thank you for that. That was super helpful.
You're welcome.
So we are getting to this time in the show, Dana, where I ask this one question. Are you ready?
I don't know. Let's say yes.
Let's say yes and go somewhere light. What is one thing that no one knows about Dana?
Oh, wow. Huh. Well, not many people know this. There's a couple of things that I can pull to mind. One of them is I can say the alphabet in 3 languages, but that's kind of a boring thing.
I think that's pretty cool.
I have been on a billboard before.
For what, may I ask?
Well, it was interesting. It was years and years ago, and I was in my practicum for my degree, and it's a billboard for a psychiatric hospital. It was back in the 80s. It says, "Before it all falls apart." And I still remember having to go in the room, and I was in, my 20s. Yes, I was in my early mid 20s, and they had to take makeup and really kind of make me look like older, like I've really had a hard time. But and it's on there. It's like I said, that was in the 80s. But I was so glad to go into the room and be able to wash that all off my face. But the problem now is that the stuff doesn't wash off like it did when you're 22 and 23 years old. But yeah, I've been on a billboard.
That is super cool. Oh my goodness, that is super cool. How fun. Thank you. Oh my gosh. As we are wrapping things up, what one piece of inspiration would you like to leave with our audience today?
Don't give up. Don't ever give up. You might feel like you are on your face in the floor, and you might be on your face in the floor right now. But don't give up. You're not alone. Reach out, find someone else. If you don't have what it takes right now, if you think I don't have the energy to pull myself up off this floor, that's okay. Reach out, find one person. You just need one person. You don't need 10, you don't need 5. In the beginning, you just need one. Find one person and have them help you. And if you're 1 inch up off the floor better than you were yesterday, that's a victory. 1 inch is a victory. It kind of reminds me of that quote from Martin Luther King Jr. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. It doesn't matter how you go, as long as you keep moving forward.
Well said. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Dana, share with our listeners, where can they connect with you, find out more, and maybe reach out and maybe have you as their therapist?
Oh, well, the therapy thing, I'm not sure. I've got a pretty long waiting list right now, but you can go to phoenixandflame.com. Now, I'm in the process of rehabbing a lot of my social media sites. Right now, Phoenix and Flame by Dana Skaags is available on a Facebook. That's my Facebook page. Don't judge. Everything's under rehab. And I'm in the process of preparing an online course, an online boundaries course that will be made available very soon on phoenixandflame.com with possible speaking engagements in the future and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot going on, but yeah, go to phoenixandflame.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dana. This has been a wealth of valuable information for all of our listeners around the world. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, your journey, and your insights. And we're so excited for everything that's coming up for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer, so much for having me.
You are so welcome. Well, as we say, until next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Empowered Within with Jennifer Pilates. Your feedback is important. It helps me to connect with you and gives me insight into who you are and what you're enjoying about the show. For today's show notes and discount codes from today's sponsors, head over to jenniferpilates.com. Until next time, may you live an empowered life from within.